Thank you. All right, live stream, wherever you are, hello, right? Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can hear us. We are running a little behind, but this is the first time that we've been here on UTD campus, so we want to allow a little extra time for everyone to find this room. Dorothee, thank you for making this possible. This is really an extraordinary location and venue. Dorothee made this happen. She's faculty here at UTD. But so we are going to get started. In your prayer books, I think you've also got a program guide. That is a new thing that we're doing. This is the first time that we've had that, but that will just help to give you an overview of where we are at in the procession. But I think if I can do this right, so it starts with a ceremony, and then we will get into things. But so Victor, LuLu, Israel, and Emily, let's make sure that you've got a microphone. Welcome to the Ministry of Skepticism.
We light the candle to remind us of the light of reason, the source of meaning and wonder in the world. And just as we light the candle, let us remember how the light has ignited in each one of us, as we were born curious and craving affection. We close the candle in the lantern to remind us that the light must be protected, just as the flame can be fanned through the virtues of compassion and skepticism. So too, it can be extinguished through fear and ignorance and neglect. Let us embody the light through the rigorous study and application of skeptical values. Let us spread the light through our shining example, and through education and outreach, let us protect the light by standing up for science and reason wherever the darkness gathers. Be the light, spread the light, protect the light. Be the light, spread the light, protect the light. So.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Emily. Thanks to all of our lantern bearers. So, this is the Ministry of Skepticism. Thank you guys all for being here. And welcome to the Dean Middle School of Management. Oh, hang it. You may not know it from my performance, but this is our 6th sanctuary. I should know how to get the mic on and off by now, but I always forget. Thank you, Celina. We had 2 sanctuaries last month in November. So for anyone that's keeping count, that's how we're already at our 6th, but we've only done it for 5 months. Our first one was back in August. We are live streaming. Hello to everyone on the live stream. And we do put these up on YouTube in their entirety after. So if you miss a sanctuary, you can follow on the live stream, or you can go to our YouTube channel, Ministry of Skepticism, and you can see past sanctuaries that we've done. This is a religious ceremony of sorts. We call it a non-religious religious ceremony. So there will be no reference to gods or deities or anything like that. No faith is required, but also an absence of faith is not required either. That's up to you to decide. But it's not a part of our teachings here. Our mission is to provide an alternative to conventional faith-based religions. Ministry of Skepticism provides a rational approach to spirituality. Hi, Aiden, come on in. Make sure you guys get your prayer books. We provide a rational approach to spirituality, and we offer an evidence-based framework for the contemplation of meaning, purpose, significance, and morality. We're trying to spread the light of skepticism through the promotion of rationality and scientific literacy. And what better place to do that than an institution of learning? And we're also building a sense of community and fellowship for people who embrace a reality-based worldview, and yet still long for a sense of meaning and purpose. We're going to reference Carl Sagan quite a bit here, right, Michelle? So I think that it's appropriate to start with a quote from Carl Sagan, who captures this sentiment perfectly and beautifully. This idea that science does not have to be walled off from spirituality. I'd like to invite my daughter, LuLu, up to share this quote from Carl Sagan. Make sure that you have a mic. Yeah, perfect.
It's already on.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and because I keep forgetting to do this, all these things are in our prayer books. Yeah, so this is on, the quote she's going to read is on page 3, and I think I can even bring it up on screen. Yes. Okay, great.
Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. When we recognize our place in an immensity of light years and in the passage of ages, when we grasp the intricacy, beauty, and subtlety of life, then that soaring feeling, that sense of elation and humility combined, is surely spiritual. So are our emotions in the presence of great art, or music, or literature, or acts of exemplary selfless courage. The notion that science and spirituality are somehow mutually exclusive does a disservice to both.
Let it be so.
Let it be so.
It's not really prayer, but whatever. I like it. Give me the mic. Thank you. Thank you, LuLu. I wonder... Oh, no. So this is a ministry, a church founded on reason and rationality. But this is not an atheist movement. It may be that the conclusion some of us come to at the end of our investigation leads us not to believe in a God or any gods, but that is not a requirement to participation in this church. That is personal, and for each of us to decide on our own. All we offer are the tools to help you in your pursuit or investigation of any claim. So neither the belief in God nor the absence of belief are prerequisites to participation in the Ministry of Skepticism. Having said that, unless or until there is some credible evidence, empirical evidence for the existence of a God or any gods, and that they impact the material world, then the God hypothesis will remain outside of the scope of the things we discuss here. I'm not aware of any good empirical evidence for the existence of a God or gods. That doesn't mean that there aren't good reasons to believe in God, and many people find good reasons, plenty of good reasons for belief. Again, that is for each of us to decide. This is a safe space for the rational exploration of ideas and all claims. And as long as you have an open mind and you're willing to learn the tools for approaching claims critically, one of the things that we teach and emphasize here, then you are welcome in this sanctuary. Now we'd like to bring up Israel to share a reflection, welcoming us to this sanctuary. And let's make sure yours is turned on. Yeah. Got it? There we go.
Wonderful. This is a space of sanctuary. All are welcome here. There are no ideas that are forbidden, no questions that are off limits. Beliefs are personal. Each of us is free to determine how we ascribe value and meaning. In this space, claims are neither accepted nor rejected by decree. We do not offer a fixed set of laws. There is no canon, and there are no commandments. We offer patience and fellowship and the tools to guide you in your own pursuit of knowledge. Skepticism is a process, not a position. Believe what you will. What is private and personal is your own business. But for anything that can be measured or quantified, or that you hope to have validated or affirmed, so long as you are willing to follow the evidence in good faith, wherever it may lead, then you are welcome in this space. You will find sanctuary here. Let it be so.
Let it be so. Awesome. So we say, let it be so. We do kind of like ritualistic, religious things. I keep referring to prayers. We've handed you all prayer books. I have a couple of ideas that I'd like to share about that, some commentary, but this is a work in progress. So we only started a few months ago. It is a constantly evolving and changing thing, and it is subject to your input and feedback. Celina and I had dinner with a couple of members of this congregation just last week. Tomas and Carlos. Carlos would have been here, but he's come down with the flu, like so many, I think, people are dealing with at this time. But Carlos, when we had dinner, made some great recommendations. One of them was, he said, why do you call it prayers? Why not something like reflections? And so I think that that is something that we will move toward. You know, when we started this, I kind of had a bias toward not trying to change too much. I just wanted to take religion and just sort of repurpose it for our needs, and view it with our values, but we don't have to change the language. We'll refer to miracles. We'll call them prayers. We'll have a service. But as we've gone, I've seen that some of us aren't as comfortable with those ideas. I think that a lot of us have associations with those terms, with religious terms, like prayers, like religion, which is a big one. But so slowly, we are kind of modifying where we can to accommodate and adapt to our needs, our preferences. And I think that reflections is a nice way of referring to the kinds of things that we're talking about here. So in future editions, the title on here will probably not say prayer book. And I think throughout today's service, as much as I can remember, we will refer to them as reflections. It's a living, breathing thing. And in the spirit of science, it's open to constant review and revision. So keep giving us your input. Speaking of being open to review and revision, every service we have an incandescence, and that is when one of our members, someone from the congregation, comes up and gives a personal testimony of sorts. And for this month, it was going to be my cousin Zach Eisenberg. He called me last night and said that he's come down with the flu. And his wife has the flu, and his son, it's going through their house. He had the whole thing written. He sent me a draft. We gave some notes, and it was great. In fact, he provided the entire inspiration for today's service. He called me immediately after our last sanctuary, last month, and said, hey, I'm sure you've already got something planned for the next one, but just in case, I had this idea. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I had nothing planned, that I hadn't even thought about it. I wanted to keep up the ruse, like oh yeah, I'm on top of it. I've got the whole next half year planned out. But not only had I not even thought about it yet, when he said, I was looking ahead and I know that the next beacon that we're going to be focusing on is reason. I didn't even know what the next beacon was. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, right. What do you got? And so he said, well, what about something, since it's close to the holidays, what about something about Santa? Because that's something that we all encounter as children or as parents. And, it's a way that people approach claims and belief and all those things. It's sort of a nice backdrop for a discussion about reason. I thought that's perfect. I love it. Let's do it. And I said, since it's your idea, why don't you give the incandescence? Yeah. If you got so many bright ideas. But he said, of course. And Zach majored, some of us went to Booker T, a high school for performing and visual arts, and Zach was in theater. So he is up to the task, and I was excited to have him get up here and present to you all. Zach is a great storyteller. It would have been a lot of fun. And when I read the draft, I literally laughed out loud several times. So it's a shame that he's not here. We considered maybe doing some kind of, patch, have him call in or something, but I struggle enough with this little microphone. I did not want to have to be at the mercy of technology to get this thing through. Maybe we'll find some other way to salvage it. Maybe we can distribute the written draft of it, or maybe we can have him present it some other way. But for this one, we've had to come up on the fly with a plan B. And so what we're going to do, in the spirit of Zach's theme, because I will give an illumination closer to the end of this service, and the illumination and the incandescence sometimes are kind of tied together, at least thematically, certainly this month, while we're in the holiday season. So to stay within the theme of kind of Santa and the holiday spirit, what we're going to do instead is we will have some of you give your own testimony about your personal experience with Santa. And spoiler alert, for anyone, wherever you're at in your journey with the holidays and Santa and the magic of the joy of the season, there will be some candid talk about Santa here, so we encourage you all to deal with that in any way that you feel comfortable. Okay. Anyone here? Where are we all at on Santa? Do we? Okay. What's that?
I can give you a perspective.
That's what I need. Is he going to start it?
I think so. He volunteered. Right?
So we've got a mic. that we'll bring around, the mic that we're passing around, just so you know, is, I'm on, right? The mic that we're passing around is not one of these. It's not so you guys can hear. It's so that the people in the live stream can hear it and so that we can record it. But Luis, I'll go ahead and have you come up here. So we'll get you mic for the live stream and this way so everybody can hear it. And we only have time for, a few of these, but I think it'll be great to hear about your own personal experience with it, whether it's your kids, whether it's your own experience. If you can remember when you realized that Santa wasn't real. Not in a literal sense. Santa is real in our hearts. Thank you, Luis.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Clearly, this is not planned at all. But I'm going to give you my perspective where I live in Argentina. I was born in Argentina, right? That is in the other side of the globe, literally the opposite, where Santa wears his typical costume on 100-degree Fahrenheit, right? So it was always like, why is this guy dressed up like that when everyone is on shorts and having all of that all over his place and going to a shopping mall and he sweating.
It's not edited or changed or adapted in Argentina? You don't have Santa?
Nowadays, I would say, nowadays maybe they are kind of bold and they go like a little bit more, I got to wear shorts as Santa. But typically, they have to wear the whole costume. So that's a starter, right? It's how come this is that? I was raised as a Catholic, right? Went to Catholic primary school, just state school, secondary school, Catholic school. And after that, I just figured out, well, there are a lot of things that doesn't match. Because on one side you have Jesus. What has Santa had to do with that? Why they're mixed together? How come? A lot of things, right? So long story short, nothing seemed to be to match up. But at the same time, there is that moment where I felt, which happens to be also my birthday, December 24th, happened to be a special moment that no matter what, even if you believe in Santa or not, if you find out that at an early age, I found out that it was my parents. But in the end, you keep doing that just because it's a moment of joy. No matter what, it's bringing family together, bringing some kind of sense of reflection and peace that we materialize it as some people might know the story of where Santa came from. It's a Nordic or something costume. Or the elves. In Argentina, we don't talk about elves at all. They don't exist. Imagine, I don't know, the animals, how are they called? With the antlers?
Reindeer.
Yeah, that's not a thing. We barely got the Santa, right? That was the only thing we imported. So yeah, it's a.
Santa gets everybody's house without reindeer.
Oh, it just happens, magic. We don't have chimneys normally. I mean, I lived in Buenos Aires with 5 million people or apartments. I can tell you there's no chimneys there. But yeah, I just want to give you that perspective because normally we are in our world. Once you get to travel, see other things. I get to enjoy holidays here, which are magical. Mm-hmm. People love to put like Christmas trees in October already.
Yeah.
Well, November the 1st until Halloween is over. But yeah, I think it's a time for reflection and time for getting people together. And no matter what, try for us to be a time of the year where we get together and just cope with the fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, I think thank you for sharing that, Luis. That's perfect. And you're right? It's not really so much about is Santa true or not, it's about the spirit. Anyone else want to share a story about, by the way, earmuffs, is he good? We didn't ruin anything for you, did we? Okay, good. He's like, come on, man. I'm 14. 14? 10 days. Come, almost. Okay. Anyone else want to share a story about their own personal journey or experience? Really? Okay, great. How old are you? Okay, come on.
David Sedaris has a great book called 6 to 8 Black Men. Stand in another country.
What's it called?
6 to 8 Black Men.
6 to 8 Black Men? Uh-huh.
Who follow Stanford.
It's by David Sedaris? Uh-huh, great.
So I have a little bit of a different perspective on Santa because my parents never really told me about Santa. He was never really a part of my childhood. So I think I ruined a lot of children's experience because I was the one to always fight with them about how Santa wasn't real. So I think I ruined a lot of childhood joy there because I was going around my friends' tables just being like, going back and forth about how Santa wasn't real. So yeah, he wasn't really a part of my childhood. And I think that I didn't really lose out on anything, him not being a part of it, because I don't know, I always appreciated the gifts coming from my parents and them taking the time to create that for me. And it didn't come from this random white guy just like in the sky.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a random white guy.
No. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just a little bit interesting.
Would you say you were a Santa denier?
Oh yeah. I was argumentative about it. I remember specifically like going in on this one girl, and I ruined that girl's whole Christmas that year. I know. I learned from that though. But yeah, I don't know. So that was my experience with it.
Well, that's interesting. So, because I want to do something here, because thank you for that, Emily. Thank you for sharing that. But so we're going to bring up Emily's mother, who raised her to be a Santa skeptic. But Celina has a completely opposite experience, her own experience. I think it's interesting to compare and contrast the two. So I think this can be the last one, right? And then we'll wrap that up. But yeah, Celina, go ahead and share that story.
So that's my first time hearing that story of Emily's experience. She's accurate. We did not ever tell her about Santa. 2 reasons. I was a Christian at the time, so I felt like, it wasn't about Santa. But also, and the more compelling reason myself, was that I was the other girl on that end of Emily's argument. But I was much older. I was raised in a family, a large family. There were 8 of us. And my brother and myself were twins. We were the babies. And surprise babies. So everybody was significantly older than me. And elaborately planned out Santa stuff. I mean, letters, and it was a long, elaborate process that my family went through for my brother and I, and they had a lot of fun getting us to believe in Santa. And I, like my daughter, am a very stubborn, very argumentative, especially when I was young. I like to think that it's not quite so bad anymore. At least that's what I tell myself. But when I was young, there was no filter. And as a child, I just was very outspoken and nobody could tell me no. Nobody could tell me what to do. So, God, this is embarrassing, but in 5th grade, when a girl tried to tell me that Santa wasn't real, can I cuss? I had a fucking knockdown, drag out argument with this girl in my class. And I remember standing up and telling my teacher, she's saying that Santa isn't real. And we were like arguing in the middle of class. That was my last year of believing it. Not because of her. Not because of her. I don't even remember how I found out. I think my parents just eventually told me, I think they had mercy on a fucking, there are still feelings. There are still feelings. So when my parents told me that Santa wasn't real, I was devastated and so embarrassed. And I mean, remembered exactly that moment of being in that classroom arguing with that girl. I wanted to die. I just was like, I'm never going back to school. I was so pissed at my whole family for, I still have the letters to Kris Kringle and everything else that they told me. And so from that moment on, I was like, I'm never lying to my kids. I will never let them be in the position that I was. I was mortified, and it took me a long time to be okay about it. I probably still have hard feelings towards all my siblings if I dig deep enough. But yeah, so that is the result of that kind of experience. So that's my experience.
Thank you for sharing that. That was great. And that was a perfect range of stories, from Louise talking about, emphasizing the spirit of the holiday and the magic of it, over whether you believe or not, and then from complete non-belief to, over-belief, overconfidence in belief. So thank you guys all for sharing those stories. And thank you, Zach, wherever you are, for giving us this theme, this great idea. And Zach, in his presentation, I know, talked about all those kind of different approaches. So keep an eye out. We will find a way to get his draft out. So let's move to a different kind of belief. Since this is religion, the Ministry of Skepticism, a question that we get a lot is, why a religion? There are some new faces here. Maybe you guys are wondering that, why a religion? And even within, returning members, it's something that we talk about often. It came up in our dinner with Tomas and Carlos. But the question really, I think, comes up mostly not from religious people or faith-based people who feel threatened by it. It's mostly from people who are already non-religious and who feel uncomfortable with being associated with a religion. They're like, I already left religion. Why are you trying to bring me back in? And our position, our feeling about it, the reason that we are doing this is because we think that there's a lot that is good and salvageable about religion. And so then, rather throwing the baby out with the bathwater, the baptismal water, if you will, our aim is to remove and or rehabilitate the things that are broken. Things like the overbearing claims to authority and the dubious science and the sometimes seemingly arbitrary and capricious morality. But religion is already a perfectly adapted social tool. It is optimized for our existing psychological and social needs. And our brains and our societies are literally built for religions. So our aim is not to replace religion, this thing that already works, or to reject it outright, but rather to improve it and update it and instill back into it the values that we do resonate with. That's why a religion. And Ian, to answer your question, is this a cult? Because Ian always asks that. He wants it to be a cult. Yeah. He was pitching me on a tagline for Ministry of Skepticism, a cult of rationality, which I think is a good line. Yeah.
Join the cult of rationality.
Yes.
Join the cult of reason.
You will submit.
Physics.
But the truth is, it's not a question that I or that any one of us can answer, whether or not this is a cult. Because it wouldn't mean anything for me or anyone else to say that it is or that it isn't. It's not. It's the kind of thing that could only be judged by action or our behavior. It wouldn't mean anything if I told you that I was not a crook, right? Or that I'm not an arsonist, or that I'm not a rollerblader. Ultimately, we're measured by our actions, and so if I go around lighting things on fire, then I'm an arsonist. If I go around doing soul grinds and alley-oop, what's the trick that you do? Alley-oop unities, then yeah, I'd be a rollerblader, regardless of what I have to say about it. Victor, you appreciate that? Jordan? Yeah? We've got some rollerbladers here. For those of you that don't know, in another life, I was a professional rollerblader. That's why the references. But we are a new religion. And we're trying to do something different. So if that is your definition of a cult, then yeah, I guess we meet that very low bar. We do meet that criteria. But we don't have any esoteric teachings. We don't claim to have access to privileged knowledge. And we're not asking you to shave your heads or give us your money. Although, yeah, no, you are welcome to buy one of these pens for the very low, reasonable price, $20. Celina will have some of those. So yeah, you can support the church in that way. But other than that, we're not asking for your money. Yet. No. All we're doing, we're trying to spread the values and the virtues of skepticism and rational thinking. This is something that is sorely missing in society. We are trying to fill a gap. We're trying to fill a couple of voids. One is that, to provide rationality, critical thinking, skepticism, to the masses. Religion is a good way for disseminating ideas, for getting ideas out to the masses, much better than all the ways we've been trying for the millennia up until now. Trying to get skepticism and critical thinking pushed through school boards or through political avenues or now through information, through social media. It is a fruitless endeavor. But religion is good at disseminating ideas. That's why a religion. That is one void that we are trying to fill. But the other is what happens, what is left, that void that is left when you leave religion. People like us that don't have need for the faith-based ideology, but we still long for a sense of community. We still want to have values that we share with our children and that we pass on to our kids, but that are based around a rational worldview. There aren't many avenues to pursue that. So we are building one. For things that are important, you don't wait for other people to do it. No other religion waits for someone else to pass their values down to their children. They do it in their Sunday schools. They do it at services. They do it around the dinner table, and the prayers that they tell. So far as I know, we don't have anything that is comparable. So for those of us that are non-religious and that raise children, we try to raise our kids right. We give them good values and all of those things, but we lack the structure and the framework and the support of a community to buttress those ideas, to make them stick. One of the inspirations for this whole thing, and there really is one, Dorothee, who got us this space, is our demographic. Through and through. She is an academic. She teaches here at the school. Her ex-husband also is an academic. They're both researchers. She's from Europe. He's from Canada. So they don't have the conventional American bias for Christianity. So they are secular and liberal in every way. Not that those are necessarily unobjectionable virtues, but they are that. And they raise their kids in that environment, in a non-religious home. And yet, her son, who was barely a teenager, discovered through school or social media or whatever, discovered Christianity and liked it. So much so that one day Dorothee was doing the laundry. She found a little Jesus idol in her son's pocket. This is how she discovered that he had discovered Christianity. And I'm not here to tell you that there's anything wrong with that or that this is an undesirable outcome. But as parents, we want our kids to hold the values that we hold. And for someone who raised their kids in a secular home, it was surprising that they had found religion without her. And it makes you feel like it makes you wonder, is what we were giving you, was it inadequate in any way? And so when she told me this story, it got me to thinking, yeah, why don't we have something so that when her son went looking for answers to questions, or had, these issues, these questions about meaning or significance or whatever it was that he was looking for, why wasn't there something to capture his interest or to answer those questions from a rational perspective? Something to compete with the conventional religions that are out there. That's what got the gears turning. That is what ultimately led to the Ministry of Skepticism. And now here we are at our 6th service trying to fill that void. So if that's a cult, so be it. But it's not for any of us to decide. We can only be measured by our actions. And to that end, if you see anything in what we are doing that you think is uncomfortable or is predatory or manipulative or deceptive in any way, we want to talk about it and correct it. Again, if we are a cult, we are the worst cult in the history of cults because it is a self-defeating cult. The things that we are teaching you inoculate you against being vulnerable to being preyed upon, to being manipulated, to being deceived. So we have one more prayer before everyone's favorite part of the service, which is a 10-minute break when you can go and have some more coffee and donuts. We have a lot to be grateful for. And as I mentioned, one of the big reasons that we're doing this is to rebuild a sense of community for us, based around our values. And so the fact that you guys are all here, that is why we are doing it. The fact that we can come together on a regular basis and share community and fellowship with people that we care about and meet new people that we can be aligned with in terms of our values and our beliefs or our absence of belief, whatever the case may be. And that we can have a space for contemplation about these kinds of ideas from a rational perspective. Things like purpose and meaning and spirituality. But now to reflect upon the spirit of gratitude, we'll bring up Dorothee, and she will share the reflection on gratitude. Oh, and I have not been doing this. I'm sorry, Celina, but now I've remembered. This is on page 10 in your reflection books, if you'd like to follow along.
We have so much to be grateful for. The very fact that we are here, that any of us should exist, despite the extraordinary odds against it, is truly a miracle. And the fact that we are here in this space together, sharing this experience of communion and fellowship, is a gift worth cherishing. So let us take a moment to be thoughtful and reflect upon this blessing, to enjoy the fellowship of friends and family and neighbors as we come together to celebrate the light of reason, the virtues of skepticism, and the miracle of existence. Let it be so.
Let it be so. Cool. Thank you. All right, so if it wasn't clear before, we've mentioned many times that Dorothee is faculty here, that she is the reason we were able to get the space. And now it is confirmed because she leaned into the mic. She definitely has done this before. She knows how to use this lectern. So well done. Thank you, Dorothee. We can all take a lesson from Dorothee and how to use the mic. Oh. Okay. So as promised, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Use this time. There's still some coffee left. I'm sure there's still some donuts. And in the spirit of gratitude, and the restrooms are just outside the door and to the right if you need to use the restroom. And in the spirit of gratitude, also while we're up and out and socializing, take some time to catch up with someone if you haven't seen them in a while. If there's a new face, you can introduce yourself to someone new. But let's cherish and celebrate the sense of community and share in the gratitude. We'll see you guys back in about 10 minutes. You good with public speaking? No? Oh, maybe Ian. You want to do it? No? Any volunteers? Anybody like public speaking? Jessica, come on. Sold.
Yes.
Yeah. What
am I doing?
And by the way, this isn't the first time Jessica and I have been up together at a microphone. We sang Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue at Zach's 50th birthday party. It was a karaoke party, and we crushed it. Yeah. One more time. You want to do it?
No.
Okay.
I need the backup music.
You know I'm a dreamer.
All right. Maybe
She's
later.
ready.
Maybe
Okay.
later.
So let me set this up, because we had someone designated to share this next reflection with us, but maybe a victim of the flu. He was unable to attend. So Jessica, thank you, is being gracious enough to fill in for us. And from what I hear from her, she's a great public speaker. And we have no reason to doubt that. But so every sanctuary is an opportunity to come together and enjoy the fellowship of friends. It was nice to see you guys all talking and enjoying each other's company there during the break. I had my third cup of coffee, so I'm a little out of sorts now. But it really is a blessing, and we are right to celebrate and cherish that moment and this opportunity. But we should also be mindful of those who can't be here, or those who are no longer with us, those who may be grieving or struggling with mental or physical health issues. And we may even take a moment to be mindful of our own struggles. Each of our fates are tied in some way to a random roll of the dice. And accordingly, we should be mindful to balance our gratitude with compassion. So before the break, we read a reflection on compassion, and now to offer that counterbalance, Jessica is going to share with us a reflection on compassion.
We did gratitude first. Now we're doing.
Thank you. I said that backwards. Yes, we did gratitude before the break. See, I knew bringing you up here was the right idea.
Indeed.
So you can open up your prayer books or your reflection books to page 11. That's where the compassion reflection is. Thank you. Oh, and I've got to give you the mic.
Compassion. Even as we recount the things that we have to be grateful for, and there are many, let us also observe how much of our fate is determined by circumstances outside of our control. There is not one among us who deserves credit for choosing their genes or their parents or where or when they were born. And neither is there one among us who deserves blame for their burdens or their afflictions or their shortcomings. It is a fact of nature that our fate is neither a reward nor a punishment. No one deserves praise or blame for their being. Let us view the world honestly and see each other truly, and recognize that all are deserving of compassion and grace. Let it be so.
Perfect. You've got the job.
Thank you so much.
You nailed it.
I accept.
Thank you for that, Jessica. That was nice. And as we're taking a moment to consider compassion and grieving and loss, we have some members of our congregation who are experiencing this right now. They've recently experienced a profound loss. Jennie, who's here with us, and her son Brody, and their good friend Elizabeth. Jennie and Brody were at our very first sanctuary back in August. And Elizabeth, despite living in Chicago, is here at her second sanctuary already. So these are good, upstanding members of our community. And so it means a lot that you guys are here. Thank you. But our hearts go out to them, because last weekend, Brody lost his father. Jennie lost her ex-husband. Elizabeth lost a dear friend. Brody's dad, Dylan Johnson, was diagnosed with kidney cancer in the fall of 2024. So within less than a year and a half of that diagnosis, he succumbed to his illness. That gives us an opportunity as a church to put our values into practice. This is exactly the kind of thing that religions exist to do. When we talk about community and fellowship, well, here we really get to see it brought to life. Whatever you think about death, wherever you think Dylan is, if you think he has an immaterial soul, or that he's in heaven, that's up to you to decide. That's personal. But we are not that kind of church. That falls well outside of the scope of the kinds of things that we comment on here. So far as I know, there's not any compelling empirical evidence for a soul or a spirit or an afterlife. But there is no question about the existence and the whereabouts of those that have survived Dylan. And they are sitting right here with us. And there's no doubt about their grief and their suffering. And if Dylan can be said to be anywhere, then surely it's in the hearts and the minds of those that knew him. I didn't know Dylan. I never met him. And I can't speak to his character. The memories and the feelings that Jennie and Brody and Elizabeth and everyone that knew Dylan carry with them, those are personal. And they will be processing and considering those memories and those feelings for a long time to come. And whatever your feelings, there's no getting around a loss like this. Especially in a case like Dylan's, where he was so young and taken so soon. That leaves a giant hole. It's disruptive. And it's not only painful, it can also feel completely disorienting. And it can feel cruel and unfair. We have a reflection that addresses this suffering. And it's in our prayer books. It's on page 13. And we're going to invite Elizabeth and Jennie up to share this reflection with us. This is on page 13.
Randomness and indifference can seem cruel when viewed through the prism of suffering and profound loss. But there is no cruelty or benevolence without intent. The indifference of nature deserves neither our praise in times of joy nor our scorn in times of despair. The only meaningful source of connection and comfort in times of happiness and sorrow is other sentient beings just like us.
There is peace knowing that we are neither chosen for mercy nor singled out for suffering. The universe proceeds persistently according to the natural laws, completely indifferent to the fate of any individual. Whenever we think we have been granted more than we deserve or dealt more than we can handle, let us take comfort in the knowledge that we are not alone. We are surrounded by other sentient beings just like us, capable of compassion, love, support, strength, and understanding. Let it be so.
Let it be so. Thank you. Thank you, Jennie. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for showing up and for trusting us enough to share this vulnerable time and space with you all. And so now let us come together as a community and offer to Jennie and Elizabeth and Brody our love, our support, our strength, and our understanding. We love you guys. You exist. Your grief exists. We acknowledge that. And we're here to share it with you and to offer our love and support. We love you guys. Let it be so. So, what is skepticism? We've talked about how we're not a cult, or maybe we are. We just talked about what it means to be a cult. It's up for you to decide, yes. It's okay to have goals. And we talked about why religion. We talked about what it means to be a religion, why we've chosen that avenue. But we've also talked a lot about skepticism. We are the Ministry of Skepticism. So what is skepticism exactly? Briefly, skepticism is an approach to knowledge that emphasizes evidence-based reasoning and critical thinking. We focus on rigorous scientific methods, data, and reproducible results when evaluating claims. One of our missions as a movement, as a church, as a ministry, is to promote critical thinking, to educate the public to seek truth objectively, and to avoid political or ideological bias, not to accept claims without sufficient proof. Skepticism prioritizes empirical evidence over intuition and personal beliefs. It is not denialism. Where's Emily? We are not Santa deniers. Deniers, as in anti-vaxxers, or moon landing deniers, or flat earthers, they're not skeptics. They're not vaccine skeptics. They're not spherical earth skeptics. To give a timely example from current events, RFK Jr., the head of Health and Human Services, he is not a vaccine skeptic. He's a vaccine denier. He denies the evidence that vaccines are safe and effective. And not to go too far down this path, but he has purged the agencies under his stead of the relevant experts and scientists and replaced them with ideological cronies. I just got through saying that skepticism, right, tries to teach people not to succumb to ideological or political bias. So this is not, I'm not using this platform for to push any political agenda. But we are 100% about advocating for science. When we say, be the light, protect the light, be the light, spread the light, protect the light means standing up for science and reason wherever they come under attack. The Centers for Disease Control, this is a scientific organization. So it is well within our purview to be concerned when science is usurped or distorted or hijacked by non-scientific ideologues. We are now seeing policies promoted that are not based on the best available evidence, but instead are based on ideology. That is dangerous, and that is a miscarriage of justice, a misappropriation of scientific integrity. RFK Jr. is not a vaccine skeptic. He is a vaccine denier. Deniers deny the evidence. They begin with a premise and then seek evidence which confirms that premise. That is a different approach than skeptics. Skeptics follow the evidence wherever it may lead. Our premises or our conclusions are derived from the evidence. And furthermore, skeptics don't tie themselves to positions. If vaccines through the evidence are shown to be safe and effective, that is not an essential part of any skeptic's identity. In the same way that we talk about the belief or the absence of belief in God, it's why this is not an atheist movement. That's not central or important to our identity. That is to say, the conclusions do not define us. It's only the process. If you happen to arrive at a non-belief in God or gods, that is up to you. All we care about is the methods that you use to arrive at your conclusions. We try to offer the tools to guide you in those pursuits. Same thing with vaccines. If you reason your way to a position based on the best available evidence, then you're operating as a good skeptic. And it may be that there is evidence that shows that vaccines are not safe or effective, and we are open to that. If the evidence changes, if the consensus among the experts in the relevant fields changes, we will change along with it. But as a general rule, as skeptics, it is good policy to defer to the experts. It's impossible to know everything about everything. It's why experts exist. It's why it is so alarming that there is such a crisis of confidence in experts now. There's kind of a spirit of individuality that has kind of run amok, where there is such a fervor to be independent or anti-authoritarian that now it seems like we don't trust experts. James Randi is a famous, rest in peace, was a famous and seminal skeptical figure. He was an illusionist, a magician, well-trained in the art of deception, how people can be deceived, and so therefore well-qualified to be a skeptic. He said that those who believe without reason cannot be convinced by reason. And this illustrates kind of two different approaches to knowledge. People like RFK Jr., they don't advocate for their position because they arrived at their position from the evidence. He started with a narrative and only looks for evidence which supports that narrative. That's different than people like skeptics, like us, who arrive at their positions through the evidence. Skepticism is also not common sense. A lot of people, when you mention skepticism, they say, oh yeah, I'm a skeptic. I think everyone needs more common sense. That's what the world needs. But this is not that. In fact, our common sense often misleads us. It's why skepticism exists, is to highlight and identify and catalog all the ways our brains can deceive us. And the categorization, the cataloging of these deceits are called logical fallacies and cognitive biases. That's how we come to know them. And we've handed out to all of you, as a companion piece to our reflection books, you've also got these Skeptic Toolkits. The Skeptic Toolkits are just taken from Carl Sagan's book, The Demon-Haunted World. He has a chapter in here called the Baloney Detection Kit. But Carl Sagan was a planetary scientist, a great science communicator. He is the one that wrote and produced and hosted the Cosmos series on PBS. Just a great advocate for science and reason and skepticism. And he provided this great introduction to skepticism. So for any of you wondering what skepticism is, beyond the words that we're sharing here, I encourage you to take some time when you get a chance. These are yours. You can take them home with you. This gives a great introduction to skepticism, because it's not just a rhetorical device. When we say skepticism, we're not using it casually. It's not just a colloquial term. It is actually part of a scientific skeptical movement that has a real has real definitions, has real tools that we can engage with. I'm going to, since we're talking about the Skeptic Toolkit, on page 4 in the Skeptical Toolkit, down at the bottom, I'm going to read just a brief passage from Carl Sagan. It says, "Try not to get overly attached to a hypothesis just because it's yours. It is only a way station in the pursuit of knowledge. Ask yourself why you like the idea. Compare it fairly with the alternatives. See if you can find a reason for rejecting it. And if you don't, others will." Basically, he's talking about confirmation bias here. In this toolkit, I don't think that we include cognitive biases explicitly. It has a bunch of logical fallacies, but logical fallacies, cognitive biases, these are kind of the two sets that go together hand in hand when we talk about the tools of skepticism. A common logical fallacy, probably a common cognitive bias, the most common one is confirmation bias. That is remembering the hits, forgetting the misses. And we see this a lot. Once you recognize it and you give a name to it, you'll see it all the time in other people's thinking, but also certainly in your own. And these skeptical tools are most useful. They're helpful for identifying flaws or faults in other arguments, other people's arguments that you might encounter. But they are most useful for recognizing these things in yourself and in ourselves. We are most likely to be deceived by ourselves. Is anybody following along in their program guide? Are we at the illumination? Yes. Okay, great. Perfect. Because I have a story that ties into the holiday and confirmation bias and Santa. There's going to be a little more Santa talk for anyone who's wondering. I think we're going to tie some things together. So there might be some more candid Santa talk, just so you know. But I have a housekeeper named Bertha, who was recommended to me by my mother. My mom, yeah, here she is. I didn't recognize you with your blonde hair. But Bertha's great. And she speaks a little bit of English, and I speak a little less Spanish. So we're not able to communicate in great depth. But we're nice. We try to communicate. And in our home, LuLu and I have a black Christmas tree. We've had it for years. And it is, long before the Ministry of Skepticism, we just had kind of a contrarian relationship with Christmas and religion. We still celebrate it, but in our own way. And so the black Christmas tree is full of Krampus ornaments. So it looks like it's got devils and things all over it. And it's also got some horror ornaments on it, like the twins from The Shining, and it's a really cool tree. And on the top of the tree, I found from an artist on Etsy years ago a tree topper that is made of glass, it's beautiful, and it's a pentagram, upside down. We went all in on this, yeah? And it's fun. It is a Krampus tree, not a Satan tree. They look similar, but they're different. One day you will introduce Wyatt to Krampus. He's going to have his mind blown. But so it's got this beautiful tree topper on top, the pentagram. And we leave the tree up year round. I used to take it down every year, but it's because I used to have a tree that had the lights built into it. But once we start putting the lights on ourselves, I'm like, oh, hell no. It is so hard to get those lights out and back in. So we just leave it up all year. So it's our Halloween tree, it's our Thanksgiving tree, our Christmas tree, our Krampus tree. It's all year round. So Bertha comes once a month. And it's become something of a running gag that after Bertha leaves, she's always turns the pentagram, the tree topper, she tilts it down. So LuLu and I, and Celina knows this well also, we always have a laugh after Bertha comes, like, oh, how funny, Bertha is kind of like making her own personal protest in this godless home, standing up for, for her piousness. And poor Bertha, having to work around all these occult symbols, and now all the worst, now we started this new cult actually, and so there's all these leaflets around and these lanterns. I mean, she must feel like this home is just like descended into complete godlessness. She must fret not only for our lives, but for her own. So it's a great story, one that's been going for years. But you have to be wary of stories like this that are too good to be true, or that fit too perfectly within a preferred narrative. And so this is not only a great non-religious, religious holiday story, it's also a great skeptical lesson. Because since COVID, I've been working remotely. I don't leave the house very often. And so now, when Bertha comes once a month, more often than not, I'm there. A couple of months ago, LuLu and I were both in the kitchen, and Bertha, who was doing cleaning business down there, said to me, in the best she could, she said, "Mr. Arlo," she said, "I like your tree." Wow. This was a thing that always had kind of gone unspoken. Like, she never acknowledged the tree. We never talked about the tree. Stayed up all year. We had kind of this battle going back and forth secretly, between the tree topper up and down. But that was as far as we communicated about it. None of us acknowledged it explicitly. And now here she was. We're all in the house, and so she's just coming out with it. Let's get it all out in the open. And I knew what she meant when she said, "I like your tree." It's like, okay, she's letting me know that she knows that we're godless. No more secrets. And this story that I'm telling you guys, the way that I'm telling you fits perfectly with my view of the world, right? I'm this cool, edgy guy, iconoclastic. I'm kind of in this tug of war with, this simple-minded, religious immigrant who can barely speak English. So last month, Bertha's back at the house, and I saw the most surprising thing of all. LuLu didn't see it. Celina didn't see it. But I was downstairs again. Bertha was cleaning downstairs again, sweeping. And our tree is like 8 feet tall. Bertha is probably less than 5 feet tall. She was cleaning around the corner of the house where the tree is, and she had to pull the tree away from the corner. So she reached into the middle, grabbed it, and had to tug it out several times. And with each pull, I saw the tree topper fall more and more. And I'm like, what the? My mind was blown. And so I had this skeptical epiphany. This entire lore that we'd built up for years and shared many laughs over about Bertha. It was all built on a lie. A faulty premise. And so now, in light of this new evidence, I had to relitigate everything I've ever thought about. I'm like, why? Of course she can't reach the top of the tree topper. She's not, what do I think? Every month she's pulling out a ladder just so she can turn the tree topper down? Of course she didn't tell me she liked the tree just in some kind of like, some kind of like gamesmanship, like trying to let me know, getting one up on me. She just liked the tree. She was just letting me know. Every interaction that I thought was BS, her just trying to get around the fact that she was uncomfortable with being in the godless home, was not that. It was exactly as she presented it. And I had done her the disservice. I'd robbed her of her dignity, of her autonomy. I'd made her a caricature. It fit in too well with my preferred narrative, where I'm the cool, educated, edgy guy, and she's the religious rube. And in this way, when we fail to exercise our skepticism or use it diligently, I started a frickin' religion called Ministry of Skepticism, and this was just last month. We have to be constantly diligent, and especially the things that are too good to be true, that fit too well with our worldview. That's why when we say skepticism is best applied to our own thinking, is because we are the ones that are most likely to fool ourselves. And I did it real well, and I owe Bertha an apology. I'm sorry, Bertha. Lo siento. Thank you. What? It's recorded, yes. I'll send her a link. There's not much that, well, Google and, YouTube now will translate. So you're absolutely right. I'll share it with her. And to bring this all together, Wyatt's not here, so I'll go ahead and do it. But so another narrative that matches my worldview too well is this idea of Santa being kind of like a proxy for belief. And the idea that we sort of are indoctrinating our children into a way of believing, or that we're denying them the opportunity to learn how to approach claims critically. When Zach presented the idea of Santa as an idea, as a backdrop for this service so close to Christmas, I thought, that's a great idea. And I'm like, I'll go look up the studies. I'm sure there's a lot of studies that show, the correlation between belief in Santa and then later adoption of conspiracy theories and things like that. We are priming our kids all to be just gullible idiots, right? Because we tell them, yeah, Santa's real. And he comes to your house, and he does all these incredible things. Flies on reindeer, or however they do it in Argentina. But just like with Bertha, a funny thing happened once I started looking for the evidence. Those studies don't exist. There's a study from 1994 called by Anderson and Prentice. And they interviewed 52 children who no longer believe, and also interviewed their parents. Most of these studies, and there are several, they find consistently that kids kind of outgrow belief around 7 or 8 years old. It varies, but that's kind of around where the average is. Largely in part just because their cognitive skills are advancing. So they just kind of outgrow, all the things that they take for granted, they start to get to an age where they start to question, like, really, are there reindeer on the roof? And so they usually abandon these claims, these beliefs, on their own. And most of us are familiar with this. Any of us that have kids, there's just kind of an age where they're like, I think it's you. I think it's mom and dad. And in these studies, they find that the kids have mostly a neutral reaction to the discovery. In some cases, maybe they're upset or disappointed, but those feelings never last more than a couple of weeks. And generally, the parents are more disappointed than the kids when the kids find out that Santa's not real. There was another study, which I think is interesting given the incandescence, when Emily and Celina and Luis shared their stories. Where'd Luis go? Oh, there you are. This was a 2024 study called Debunking the Santa Myth, and this included 48 children and 44 parents, and they reported that about a third of the children reported some kind of negative feelings, either sadness or disappointment about being fooled. But these, as we said, these are generally short-lived. It never lasts more than a couple of weeks.
This study came from a professor at this university.
Mills?
Yeah, Candace
No way. How do you know that?
Because I know her, and I know her research.
Very cool. All right. Yeah. All right. So that is a double whammy. That's cool because not only that gives credibility, like this is a real study, but also worth the university, the institution associated with this. Great. The conspiracies, yeah, the fix is in. We should have had Mill speak, maybe next time. But something else that they found in the study, which LuLu probably already knew this, but it's exactly what Celina said. If the negative feelings lingered, it wasn't about belief in Santa. It was usually about parental choices. Like, what? Oh, right. If there was stronger parental promotion, right, when they go through elaborate schemes or take extra measures to defend the belief long before the child has naturally kind of outgrown it. Those kinds of things can lead to kind of like lingering resentment or hurt. So the truth, the takeaway is that that belief in Santa is kind of age typical, and that it fades as children outgrow it and start to reason through the evidence. And furthermore, kids then are able to reinterpret the stories as just kind of playful stories that adults tell. There are other studies that show that kids are pretty good at making a distinction between fantasy and other kinds of claims, and in particular, like religious claims. Santa occupies a space in children's minds much closer to something like the Tooth Fairy than to Jesus or other religious figures, for instance. So there's nothing crushing or devastating about learning that Santa is a bit of fantasy. And in fact, children enjoy it, and parents enjoy it. Just as Louis said, it's an opportunity to get into the spirit and the magic and the joy of the holiday season. Children like participating in fantasy. And there is no lingering resentment over that fantasy once the illusion comes down. And as Louis said, there's also a way to preserve that magic without having to be necessarily, literally true. The spirit of the thing can still live on, as it does in most of us through the holidays. So the kinds of things that lead to pronounced religiosity, credulousness, belief in conspiracies, for instance, there are things other than Santa. Let's not put that all on Santa. In fact, Santa does not really factor into it at all. Parenting obviously plays a much bigger role. If we are overly authoritative in our parenting style, if we lie to our kids frequently as a manner of interaction or kind of explaining away things, those kinds of things are likely to have a much bigger impact on your kid's future approach to claims. Certainly more than belief or not in Santa. And so this highlights the beauty of skepticism, right? I started out with one premise, one narrative in mind. I kind of thought, here we go. Yeah, let's stick it to Santa. Let's stop indoctrinating our kids into a system of belief. But once we got into it, looked at the studies, followed the evidence, ended up at an entirely different place. That is skepticism. We follow the evidence wherever it may lead, regardless of what our preferred premise or narrative is. And then our premises, our narratives adjust to adapt to the new information. So, let that be a lesson, Emily. We don't have to be skeptic Grinches, robbing children of Santa and holiday magic. We can revel in the spirit and the fantasy of the holiday. But also, Santa is an opportunity for us to discuss claims and approach the claims. So there are a whole lot of different ways we can approach it, and that's for each parent, each family to decide. There is no right or wrong. Raising a kid without Santa and teaching them kind of stories is just as healthy and useful as letting them believe the fantasy. There is no right or wrong, but that is the point. That is what I had wrong. I thought there probably was a better way to do it. I was wrong about that, and I admit it freely. One of our founding core virtues is that of fallibility, acknowledging how we can be wrong. So we don't have to be skeptic Grinches, but we do need to be good parents and good people. And being good skeptics provides a way for us to be better at both of those things. So we're going to close with one final ceremony. Before we get there, I just have some quick closing remarks. First of all, once again, I'd like to say thank you all for coming. Devion, good to see you again. Glad you can make it. We are going to Turbo Coffee afterwards. For anyone that's available that wants to join us, it is like just 10 minutes from here on Coit. The address, it's on Coit. And we have the upstairs reserved, so we will continue the conversation. If there's anything that you want to keep talking about, we're going to do that. So please join us. And they have coffee, they have cocktails, they have food. So it's a nice place to go and pick up some brunch and to keep the conversation going. We also are going to do our first, what we're calling constellation. Did you guys all get in your prayer books, there's a flyer for the constellation. So the past several sanctuaries, we've talked about doing this. We've said we want to do it. We keep saying, since we only meet once a month, we'd like something in the intervening 2 weeks, something right between the sanctuaries where we can get together in a less formal environment and just talk, kind of work through these ideas. So it's more interactive. It's not just us talking one way, but we can actually get some social engagement, have conversations. So we finally set one up. We committed to it. We picked a date, January 1st. What a symbolic way to start the new year. We picked a location. It's going to be Turbo Coffee, once again, because they're such great hosts and they have everything. And we've confirmed they are open on New Year's Day. And we picked a time. It's going to start at 7 p.m. So for some people, it's difficult coming on weekend mornings. So hopefully some of those people that aren't able to attend our sanctuaries, maybe an evening on the weekday, it's a Thursday, will make it easier for them to join. And we call it constellation. We think that that's a cool, it evokes some light imagery with the stars. It feels like things coming together, constellation, networking, talking. We love it. And this was an idea that came from Carlos. One of many great ideas from Carlos. What's that? And exactly. And the cosmos, yes. And it has, it evokes themes and ideas of Carl Sagan. Perfect. Exactly. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, Dorothee. Once again, the space has been awesome. We love it. Thank you for making it happen. I know it wasn't always easy. Thanks to the new people that have come. We hope that you've enjoyed it. We hope that you get something out of it. For all of us that are new or returning, if there's anything that you liked in this, if you think you know someone who might get something out of it and you want to bring someone, thank you for bringing people. And let's keep spreading the light. Bring people. As we said, our mission here is to spread skepticism, critical thinking, these values. There's a lot more people out there that would benefit from this, that could help us grow this community. So let's do that. Let's spread the light. Stay curious. Keep asking questions. Keep seeking answers. Spread the light. So we're going to have Celina is going to be presenting the reflection that goes with this last ceremony. Oh, and I've got our 3 lantern bearers. So you guys can go ahead and come up here. Victor, Israel, and LuLu. Okay, perfect. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, and Celina, I almost missed it. If you want to follow along, this is Iron and Glass. It's on page 14 of your reflection books. Okay.
We turn our attention once again to the lantern, an encasement of iron and glass that protects the candle burning within. The candle itself is a symbol representing the light of knowledge and reason. The light must be protected. Protect the light. I know they carry. No, can carry them. Now take up the lanterns and carry them out into the world. Hold them high and let their radiant light shine against the encroaching darkness of pseudoscience, superstition, and unreason. Science is a candle in the dark. The lantern is a beacon of rationality. Spread the light. Religion is a powerful tool, and we employ it earnestly in the service of our skeptical message. We acknowledge the role that narrative and ritual play in making our teachings more palatable and our lessons more transmissible. Even as our spirits are raised in transcendence, our feet remain grounded in reality. We draw a bright line between the tales that we tell ourselves and the truth. You can blow out the candles. The candle carries no meaning outside of our metaphors. The lantern is just iron and glass, after all. The only source of meaning, so far as we know, is you and your self-awareness. The most extraordinary creation in all of the cosmos. You are the source of reason. You are the source of knowledge. You are how the universe thinks about itself. Feed your curiosity. Sharpen your skeptical tools. Spread the message of skepticism and critical thinking. You are the light. Be the light. Spread the light. Protect the light. And we repeat together. Be the light. Spread the light.
Protect the light. Let it be so. Great. Thank you, guys. Happy holidays. Have a Merry Christmas. For those of you that are coming, see you at Turbo Coffee. Thanks, everybody, following on the live stream. Turbo Coffee. Thank you all.